So Aaron Rai, the guy who wears two gloves, is one of the straightest hitters on the PGA Tour, and we've been coaching him for over 20 years. And we're literally going to be revealing his blueprint of how and why he hits so many fairways in our brand new plan, Mastering Accuracy.
This is episode 1 and it's all about swinging on plane. This is critical for Aaron and it's critical for you. Now, if you enjoy this episode and you want to watch the rest of the plan, you can access it on meandmygolf.com by simply clicking the link down in the description.
Okay, let's talk swing plane. This is one of Aaron's, I was going to say secret ingredients. It's no secret. It's an ingredient for success. And in this lesson, we're going to share the things that he does that helps him swing on plane, which is a key contributor to him and you hitting the golf ball straight. So let's explain swing plane first of all, Pierce, and really what it influences at impact. We've got the full swing in play to help us sort of make sense of this.
There's a couple of things that absolutely you need to make sense of when doing this. First of all, how do we measure swing plane? So we do it on video, and all we do is we have a camera which is at hand height, which is running parallel to the target line. We then, when we're using the Me and My Golf app, we draw a line up from the hosel of the golf club up underneath that right elbow and going through the body. And what we're looking for is how close the club head can get to that plane for the most part throughout the swing. So let's just show you what that would look like. So definitely for the first part of the swing, we want to see the club head is staying very close to the plane. It may lift off ever so slightly here, but then on the downswing, we want that club head getting real close to that plane again really early as we can, and then staying on that plane throughout this journey here. And then when we get to impact, and then hopefully it will continue to look close to that plane on the way through. So that's the plane, that's the full swing effectively. What does that really attribute to when it comes to striking the golf ball? What we're looking with the full swing is to measure the club path. So club path is measured when we're at impact. So what we're looking for, if you're swinging on plane, when you get down to impact, is that number on the full swing is going to be relatively close to 0 degrees. It's going to be pretty close. There's a few other factors that go into this, but it's going to be relatively close to 0 degrees. If we start seeing golf swings where you are swinging miles over the top, that club path will be a long way to the left, and we're probably going to slice it, especially with a driver. If we're seeing a golf swing which is massively under the plane, then that club path is going to be out to the right, and we're probably going to see a hook. So swinging on plane, now you can see, can massively affect the curve that you're putting onto the golf ball.
Okay, let's get into the things then that actually influence swing plane. Okay, let's start with the most important part of the golf swing, the club face. Now, a lot of golfers see a lot of the funky moves that happen in the golf swing, and often the club face is the root cause. Let's talk about why this is so important, Pierce, and then just take a look at Aaron's golf swing and understand what he does that helps him, because this is a key contributor to that swing plane.
It's possibly the biggest driver of being on plane. For us, it's the most important, it really is. When we're striking the golf ball, the club face and where it's pointing is responsible for up to 85% of the starting direction of the shot. So if you have your club face massively open, that ball is starting to the right. And then guess what? It's probably going to curve even further to the right. So we really need to understand that if we can control this baby, we've got a lot more chance of keeping the club on plane and obviously ultimately hitting straight shots. So what Aaron is really good at is controlling this throughout his backswing. He knows where that club face is throughout. As he is moving the club away, the first checkpoint that we really like to look at is the leading edge of the golf club. So we can see that the leading edge of the golf club, for me there, is probably parallel to the spine angle. It may even be a little bit lower than that. That's exactly where Aaron is.
So we would call that strong.
Strong or slightly closed. Yeah, absolutely. You'll get more of these terminologies as we go through this. Then when he gets to the top, we'll see that the club face, now we want to check it relative to the lead forearm. We can see that if they're parallel, that would be square. Aaron's again is ever so slightly strong. And then as he swings down to here, this is what we call parallel point 3. We can see that the club face again is in a stronger position than most. And this just allows him to be able to keep that club glued to the plane. And don't forget, we already spoke about this with Aaron. He's not trying to hit everything straight. He's trying to manipulate the ball whenever he can, but for the most part, he's staying very close to that swing plane. This is where it can go wrong, unfortunately, for yourselves. Like Andy said earlier, we see these big over-the-top moves and we think that's what we've got to fix. Well, actually, they're more symptoms. The cause is often the club face. So think of this. If your club face gets really rotated open throughout the golf swing, we can see now that leading edge is nowhere near parallel to the forearm. It's probably going to cause you to do this over the top, because if you actually were to swing down on plane with that club face being really open, you'd probably hit the golf ball on Andy's right arm.
I'd catch it.
He could probably catch that shot from there. That is not going to play. You'll only ever do that once. You'll hit it that far right that your brain goes, I'll put a compensation or a symptom in, which is to swing the club over the top to at least give yourself a chance of starting the golf ball somewhat near to the fairway. And conversely, if you've got a club face which gets very closed throughout, again, it's going to be very easy for you then to go, well, I can't swing on plane because it will go left. So you kind of shift the club underneath the plane a lot to try and somehow stop it from hooking to the left. And again, you can hit some good shots, of course, but it's not that consistent.
And I think when golfers look at their golf swings, they're often focused on those bigger moves.
Yeah.
So I think like this video is almost a reminder to you, if you're videoing your golf swing in the Me and My Golf app, or you're using live practice or whatever it is, don't just look at the big things, look at the face, because and we're starting with the face because it's the most important thing. Look at what the face is doing, because if the face is square to even strong, the body moves in such a more dynamic way, and it really just sets the stage for a great movement.
Yes.
If the face is excessively closed or open, we then see that change in the downswing and change in plane where we have to make those compensations. So really look hard into that club face.
So huge to understand where that is, for sure.
Okay, let's take a look at Aaron's backswing then, a key component to help him swing on plane. We're going to specifically look at his body rotation and his synchronization with his hands, arms, and body. Now, if we just take Aaron back to when the lead arm is parallel to the ground, you're going to notice that his upper body has already turned considerably. He's got around about 79 degrees of torso rotation there. And we often refer to this as being body-led. He is leading the golf swing with his body as opposed to individually moving his hands and arms independently of that. And what this does, it helps his club move and swing along that plane. And as we've already shown, the more simple that backswing, the more simple the downswing. And as we continue to the top of his golf swing, he gets a nice full shoulder turn, and the hands, arms, and body really come to a stop at a very similar time.
Yeah.
And this is, again, another key component, a great sequence backswing, but very, very body-led.
Yeah, and we need this. We talk about it priming the golf club ready to move on the downswing. Now, unfortunately, we're not all that good, and we do get our backswings wrong. So let's just go through a couple of patterns on how you could be getting this wrong yourself potentially. Let's talk about someone who underturns, doesn't turn enough. We might see a golfer who is trying to stabilize their lower body maybe, or whatever they're doing. By the time this lead forearm is getting parallel to the ground, they're not really able to get as much rotation in this torso. They get to the top, they haven't quite got enough rotation. What happens from here is, as you swing down and put the power in now, you'll generally rotate and move the club well over the top of the plane. And there you have it, you're over the plane, but also you're cutting across it and you're playing a slice. So that pattern can happen a lot. Conversely, if you're someone who hooks the golf ball, maybe you're someone who gets a lot of rotation early, so you really do overturn and you get a big rotation, and then from there you can easily bring the club too much underneath the plane and start hitting those hooks. And by the way, there's quite a few different patterns that you can have in a backswing that can cause you to be over or under the plane. But ultimately, when we're seeing a golfer who is short on rotation at this stage, we're generally going to be over the top, and someone who's got a lot of rotation, which isn't that often, then we might see more of a hook. Good to go through a few drills that you can do that can really help you with a good backswing. But let's start with Aaron's drill. Aaron has this specific drill that he does that we've worked at him with, which is a body-led move. So what he'll do, he'll actually swing back, and it's almost as though his arms and his body and his torso, everything is in a cast, and he's moving everything together. So you can see I'm almost moving the club back with the center of my stomach there. So it's almost my belly button is moving the club back as I swing back. And then from there, very body led, he finishes it off by just moving through the ball just to here. And again, we can see that it's body led on the way through.
So as Piers does this as well, you'll notice, as he said, he's body led here, the chest's working. One other great thing about doing this, it really helps the club face. If we get hand led on the way back, like this, hand and arm led, no body turn on this look, and the hands and club have done all the work, and that then contributes to the face. So all these things all help each other out. So being a little bit more body-led in this first part not only helps you swing more on plane, it also helps you have a better face position in the backswing.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the drill he does, and that's a great one. Go ahead and do that one. A concept that I use with a lot of my golfers, if they're struggling with this, is I give them the concept of early turn, early turn, early turn. And it might be someone who does this. It's someone who actually goes, well, I'm just going to just sort of pick the club up with my arms. They have a real short backswing. They feel their tempo is out and they kind of rush everything. If we can get an early turn, again, it comes from the belt buckle almost. So everything starts moving together, kind of like Aaron's drill, but you get this early turn so that when this forearm and arm is parallel to the ground, that we're trying to get close to that 80 degrees. So we're really working hard to get that. And sometimes that's as much as you need, just that cue, just that concept in your mind to go, no, I'm going to make sure whatever happens that I turn early in my golf swing. I'm not trying to place the club on plane. No. I'm trying to move my body. By turning and moving your body, that's what will get the club on plane.
I remember we had a conversation with Victor Hovland. We said, what would be a great tip for amateur golfers? He said, imagine you had a torch on here and you were getting this torch to sort of shine to the right almost immediately in the golf swing, getting that early, and you can see him, he has someone who has a load of turn, more than Aaron in the backswing early. So just starting off in that way just sets yourself up to actually just produce a more consistent downswing.
Interestingly, Victor has been doing some work on his golf swing, trying to slow down the amount of rotation because he tends to get a little bit hooky. Well, there you go. He gets too much rotation too early. Another drill that you like, Andy, is the 9 drill. Place the arm in that position there so we can see we've almost got a number 9. I need to do the letter 9 then. We've got a number 9 and all we're going to do is we're going to move everything away together. We're moving everything away together. Then we could create a little bit of a wrist set in there as well. And we're just kind of creating this good framework of the body and the arms.
Imagine you're in a clock. This is 9 o'clock. So you've got 9. You're going to take 9 to 9. So here's the great thing about this now. You can see how much movement he's got with his chest. Everything's synchronized and sequenced good here. Club face is still good. Great feeling for you to take to the shot and then hit that shot with that feeling of this doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, so let's actually have a go at that. I'm actually going to have a little bit of the Aaron drill here, that kind of rehearsal of just moving it back. Everything feels like it's in a good sync, Andy, whenever I do that. Wow. Maybe it actually works as well.
That's pretty good for you, that is, isn't it?
That's actually decent.
So let's talk spine angle at the top of the backswing now. With Aaron and with everybody, really, the setup and how we move on the way back will influence where we end up at the top of the swing. And if we take a look at Aaron's golf swing here, what we're going to notice at the top of his backswing, he gets primed where the upper body is actually leaning slightly away from the target. But the spine angle then at the top of the backswing, combined with the other things, really influences then how you can move that club on the way down. So let's just go through, Piers, maybe what we see if the spine angle is a little bit off.
Okay.
And then we'll go through some drills that's going to help the guys sort of get into a great position.
The best place to start, because obviously we're talking about the top of the backswing, but you mentioned about the setup, how good his setup is. I think this is where we need to start. So ideally, when we're looking at a setup with a driver, we obviously, yes, we've got the wide stance, but we want to have a certain amount of tilt of the spine away from the target to start with. So we want to feel as though we're almost presetting that tilt of the spine away from the target. If we see a golfer who gets into this sort of shape, and this is, you're like going, oh yeah, Piers, no one does that. Well, when we put the ball forward and it feels really weird being behind it and we move our head and our arm and our body to get to the golf ball, then this is absolutely an issue. So we can see here now, my shoulders are really open. That's probably going to cause me to swing to the left, but it's going to be very easy for me to load up on that spine there, which is not healthy.
Just stay there for another just 10 minutes, would you?
Okay, thanks.
But this now leaning this way puts a lot of stress on the lower back, and we can either then sort of start down steep or this way, but then sometimes we have to sort of back up and create a lot of different compensations. So getting into this good spine angle, again, we talk about it so much, the backswing is just so crucial because it just gets us prepared. And if we can get ourselves, do a great job of the way back, I wouldn't say the downswing is easy, but it is much easier to do this.
Definitely easier. So good setup, slight tilt there, combining that with what we just spoke about with the move away. Hopefully then by the time we get to the top of the backswing with a good turn, we can now see that that angle of that spine is again, like Aaron's, leading away from the target.
So I also want you to notice Piers' head here. Notice the cap has actually slightly turned. His head has rotated because he's got a lot of turn. There you go. So it's okay for the head to actually rotate a little bit. A lot of people are very fixated on trying to keep the head and eyes still. Notice what that does. Hardly any turn, okay? And then it can even lead to this sort of reverse spine angle, what we call it, this way, and has that knock-on effect. So it starts at the setup and then how we move, but even just that head is a big influence on that. Instead of trying to keep it still, it's okay for it to move as we do that.
If you think about what we spoke about here, we spoke a lot about allowing things to move in the backswing. I think a lot of golfers, when they start hitting bad shots, fixate on keeping things still. Well, if I keep things a bit more still and I can control it more and stabilize it more, then it might mean that I can be more accurate. Well, you'll be less accurate and you'll be a lot less powerful as well. So that's not a good combination.
One of my lessons recently said to me, he said, one thing I've learned from you, Andy, he said that you're trying to get me to move more.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not trying to get people to move less generally, we're just trying to get them to move better. And often it is more movement, but it's more movement in a more healthy, more efficient way. Let's get into the drill. Probably our favorite drill in the world.
The number one drill in the world.
I'll let you talk through it.
The number one drill in the world. It's called a matchup, and it's real simple. So all you're going to do is take your setup with your driver, get your real good ball position. Feels like you get that little bit of tilt now. And then we're going to get an alignment stick and we're just going to drop it just inside your trail heel. And we're going to do it at 90 degrees to your target line. And all we're going to get you to do is put a golf club across your shoulders and you're going to match up these two sticks, well, the shaft and the stick. So from here, good setup, and then rotate so that this club shaft now across my shoulders is matched up over the one on the ground.
So you'll notice from the down the line camera, this is still pointing down, really important. It's just ahead of where the golf ball will be. This keeps Piers in a good posture.
This is where people get this wrong. They stand here and they go, right, I'm just going to match up like Piers said. Well, it's got to be maintaining posture.
Within that posture there, yeah. So you can see now he's got a good, healthy position at the back here. This is pointing down. And one thing I recommend doing with this as well is that have feedback. Get in front of a mirror or even just record the golf swing. If you're doing this drill in front of a mirror, you will clearly see the angle of this back. And if you were to see this, A, it won't feel very comfortable, but B, you're going to see it visually as well. So having this feeling of being slightly leaning away, a couple of things you're going to feel when you do this as well. When you're in this place here, you're going to feel the right side loaded in the swing because we're moving that upper body over the right leg and loading the pressure in the leg.
And the good thing is you can't really fake this drill. I went on an Adidas event and we were in Canada and I was playing a YouTube match with Golfing with Go, young Canadian female golfer, and she was slicing it and hitting it really bad. And I'm playing this match with her. I'm like, right, how can I fix this straight away? She's massively over the top, but she had a really poor body pivot. So I said, just do this drill. And she literally did 3 of those and she hit the ball with that same feeling. The club was automatically on plane as a result, and she nearly had a hole-in-one on a par 4 on a green that she didn't get within 50 yards of. So it was a phenomenal transformation, but that's how powerful that drill is for you. I'm gonna hit one where I actually have that same sensation. So all I'm looking at now is I can just replace the matchup with just getting my lead shoulder over my trail knee. That's the feel. One thing as well, by the way, this is very much for the driver that we do this drill this way. If you can do it for the iron, but you just do it ever so slightly differently.
And what I'd say with this, Piers does this well anyway. He doesn't need to feel it much more than he would normally do, otherwise the ball's going to go left.
That's a good point.
So Piers just needs to do a normal golf swing here.
That's a good reminder, Andy, because I would have hooked that one if I was
Exactly.
thinking about doing it. Yeah, good point. Well done. There we go.
Dead straight.
You actually made me hit the fairway there, because I think I'd have hooked it if you hadn't said that.
That's my job. I can coach you too. Okay, the next component we're talking about is arm plane. And again, we're getting to arm plane really as a result of the things that he's done in the backswing, more body led, but where the position of the arms are at the top of the backswing will massively influence how consistent you can be at getting that golf club on plane. If we take a look at Aaron's golf swing, what we'll notice here is that as he moves his club away, his hands move very much around the body due to the fact that it's driven so much by his torso. And as a result of that, at the top of the backswing, we'll see that his lead arm and shoulders are very much on the same plane. And when these shoulders and arm are on the same plane, it just makes it much more simple now for him to unwind and allow that golf club to almost just sort of slot on that plane and down through impact. And so often, Piers, that we see some of the high arm positions.
Yeah.
But often it's due to an inefficient backswing, and that's why it's so important that we sort of go through these things first, because the better the body moves, often the better the arms move, don't they, as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing to note on this is Aaron is incredibly accurate, but he's not the longest on the tour. He's longish, but he's not the longest. And the guys who get their arms really high, with the exception of maybe Rory McIlroy, they're the ones who can get the most speed. We know that. But he's designed to hit it straight. And this is why this is so good, I think, for the majority of you watching this. This is maybe more where we want to be looking. So again, I'll just demo this myself. If I'm swinging back on this plane like kind of Aaron does, and it's almost like he keeps the club through this top part really close to the plane, obviously. But when that arm and shoulder are almost matched up from there, as you say, it's almost like he just rotates on the way down and the club nicely finds the slot. But if you've got someone, we've got a guy who we've given a few lessons to on YouTube, Josh Brown is a great example. We can look at Josh's golf swing, that his arms go really high here, almost to the point, well, not to the point, you actually can't see his face at the top of the backswing because his arms are in the way. And then from there, the club is very steep and vertical, swinging over the top, and he's going to hit these big high slices.
So from here now, in order to get that club back on plane, we have to be really coordinated and do some things a little differently to get it there. It's not that it's impossible to do. If you're highly skilled, if you're playing golf for a living, it's not that hard.
Yeah. He gets practice a lot, that's good.
Exactly. But for the average golfer, having the lead arm and sort of matching the shoulder plane is actually quite helpful. It just makes the downswing, as we've already talked about, so much easier.
If we ask the majority of golfers who's been the best ever ball striker, I think a lot of them are going to say Ben Hogan. And you think about Ben Hogan, how his arm would be across his shoulder plane at the top of the backswing. And a lot of clues there to what could actually happen from a success point of view. So what I will say, obviously with these, we want to give you as many drills as we can. With this one, it's not necessarily a drill. It's an awareness when you video yourself. But think about how we've got to this point. Think about all of the good things that we've done already, whether it be the body-led Aaron drill, whether it be making sure you've got a good setup, whether it be early turn, whether it be the matchup. All of these now are sorting the body out and allowing the club and the arms, sorry, to sit in a really nice place at the top of the backswing. So I think I should hit one, Andy. That's pretty good. A little bit low on the face there, Andy.
It's a good miss though. It's on the fairway.
It's on the fairway. That's another good point.
If you miss it on the fairway, you're doing something right. So when it comes to swinging on plane, we can't ignore the downswing, but notice how much we've talked about in the backswing, and we've got one lesson really talking about the downswing. So it just places so much importance on really setting ourselves up. Often the downswing is just the result of the backswing. So really prioritize that for us. Now, when it comes to Aaron, again, he's set himself up to move his body in a great way. And what we're looking at really is how he shifts weight and rotates his body. So we'll look at the top of his backswing and gets to the top, as we've already talked about, great position. He will have a great combination of shifting that body and then rotating through to impact. And it's that combination of shift and rotate that allows the club to almost drop and fall into the slot. If we don't quite get that combination right, which is often as a result of what you've done before, we can then either throw it over plane or actually throw it under plane here. So just demonstrate how maybe people can get it wrong.
Yes.
And then we'll go through maybe a drill or a feel more so that a golf coach actually gave to me, I would say 20 years ago now. But it's a great way to feel.
When you were young.
I was waiting for, I can see his face thinking.
There's going to be something I was going to say, obviously.
And we'll showcase what that drill was and how it felt really. So let's go through how people can get it wrong, Piers.
So look, from here, what we'll see is that if you get to a really nice backswing still, let's say you get to a really nice top of backswing, if you are thinking about rotating or you're predominantly rotating and you're staying on that back leg, look at where the club is going. The club is swinging down over the top. I'll do that again. If I get to the top, if I leave my weight here and I just rotate, there's no room for me to swing my arms. I'm naturally just going to swing the club more over the top. And this is really important because the amount of golfers that have come to us for a lesson and said, I'm trying to turn my hips more at impact like Rory McIlroy.
We're going, oh no.
Club is going all the way over there on the way down over the top. We're going, oh my goodness, you like, there's the fire, let's put loads of fuel and gasoline on that fire. It's the last thing that you should be doing. So hopefully that's a big tip for some of you watching this. What I will say as well, if you're someone who's a little bit more under the plane, there is a potential that from here, even in a good place, that you're very lateral and you just move like this on the way down. That allows the club, then you can see, to go underneath the plane. It's amazing, isn't it? If you think about those two things, we need both. We need lateral and rotation. If you're off plane, you're probably doing one too much. That's probably the thing that's going on here. So
what we want is that combination of lateral, and this is what Aaron does really well. He gets that lateral with that rotational move, really.
Just this little action I'm doing here, there's an element of lateral toward the target, and there's an element of rotational back towards the target. We can see my body unwinding, but almost for us, the precursor is the lateral first. So if we get to the top and then we go laterally, it then allows us to rotate. So the drill that Andy was given 28.5 years ago was to center his knees. So Dave Ridley, great golf coach, top of the backswing, and then from there, Andy, he would say, center your knees.
There you go, there you go. And if you just hold it there, what he's done, and this is what Aaron does so well, the knees now and the hips are actually pretty square by the time the lead arm actually gets parallel to the ground on the way down. That gets a lot of the pressure into this leg, but also starts to unwind and rotate that lower body. And that combination of the two, where we get this lateral and rotation, helps the club drop into that slot and sort of get it more on that plane.
And here's a little note for you as well, because we know if you've watched Pure Your Irons or any of our iron content, that when we have this impact line up there, we want to get up on that impact line. We're not saying you have to be at the impact line with the driver. It's harder with the wider stance, and also you don't need to get that much towards the target, because actually what can happen, hopefully this doesn't confuse things too much, is when we get to the top and we center the knees by getting a shift, once we get that club slotted on plane and we're rotating, you'll see a lot of the best drivers actually move back. We actually see Aaron's foot as he swings through, it actually moves back a little bit like this and comes away from the target. That's just him using the ground to try and create a bit more speed and energy.
I'm just going to dive into that a little bit more because I think it's important. So the reason that happens is that as you go to the top, is as we get this shift, when there's pressure going down through this leg, the ground pushes back. So it's very hard to actually push back when there's no pressure there. That's why it's so important to create that lateral shift first, so we can push and use the ground, and it helps us do numerous things as well as really hit up on the golf ball.
Okay, let's see if we can hit one more and get it on plane again, Andy. Look at that one. That was nice. Might have been the best one.
I think so. So we hope you enjoyed the video there. If you did and you want to access the rest of the plan, head over to meandmygolf.com or simply click the link in the description, and we'll see you next time.